In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the upcoming pattern. We do have plenty of interesting storms moving across the nation as the active severe weather pattern looks to continue. Obviously, we have just moved from April into May, and we are still expected to see much more severe weather activity as we're only about halfway through the main heart of the severe weather season. And in the east, a lot of our severe weather and our thunderstorms come, as late as June typically through August or September. So there is still a lot more activity to come, of course. And that's pretty unfortunate because it's already been very crazy this year across the plains. Hopefully we see that at least top end severe weather die down a lot, because we've seen a lot of extreme situations so far this season compared to others. At least that's the feeling that I get looking at this season so far. Let's move towards this afternoon, and as we can see, there is a pocket of thunderstorm activity across the plains, starting from Texas and Louisiana northward through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and even into the upper peninsula there of Michigan. There is a 1,004 millibar low pressure center along this. We even see a 1,005 millibar low pressure center here behind everything, causing some snowfall here for a lot of Montana. And then for some of the plains like North Dakota, South Dakota, and western Minnesota, we might see some thunderstorm activity along this one as well. Now, also, I forgot to mention in the intro, we do expect a pretty big cool down here after the 10th of May. So we're going to dive into that, and that could be substantial, and it could be sustained over a long period of time. So we need to dive into that as well. Let's take a look here as we move towards Friday afternoon on May 3rd. And what we see is that there is plenty of thunderstorm activity across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan here. Definitely going to be a pretty active severe weather day in here. Some of this is a little bit more sustained. Other areas it's a little bit more isolated and scattered, but nevertheless, this entire area here appears to have a pretty good chance of seeing thunderstorms tomorrow on Friday, May 3rd there. And again, we have 1,002 up above in Canada. That's likely fueling a lot of this. Our main jet stream looks something like this. So a pretty big ridge here in the east. That's why we see the continued warmth here for at least a little bit. We also see a pretty big ridge over the west here developing, and this cool down is on the move, heading eastward a little bit as it's over the kind of Rockies and northern plains area there. Let's take a look by Saturday, and it's centered even further east. And by Saturday, we actually do see a chance of thunderstorms here from the southern plains through some of the southern Midwest and Ohio Valley, some of the Great Lakes states, the Gulf states there, the Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast. Maybe only a little bit of the Northeast there, seeing a chance at thunderstorms. So this is directing itself a little bit further eastward, and this is only the 4th, and it does look like a cool down is moving in. But I want to remind you guys of something out west. Look at this. Heavy storminess moving in, 994 over Nevada, 1,001 over Canada, and colder air. We can see a trough trying to develop here along the northwest coast. This is going to redistribute the warmth back into the east over at least the medium term here. So let's see this work in action here kind of. So let's move towards Sunday. And by Sunday afternoon, we already see this trough kind of lifting off and retreating basically. We see this warmth resurging back into the east, and we see this storminess and colder air really prevailing out west, which is indicative of a negative PNA. One of the most important patterns that I track here on the channel is that PNA. It stands for Pacific North American Oscillation. In its positive phase, it means warm and dry out west. In its negative phase, it means cold and stormy out west. And whatever's happening out there is the opposite of what you expect in the central and eastern states. That's the simplest way to put it. So of course we see cold and stormy here. I expect warmth to prevail over the east, and that is what we see happen here. 9 times out of 10 that follows suit there. Still a 994 over Wyoming, 1,006, pretty weak low pressure center over Southern California. And we see rainfall and snowfall depending on your location there. Definitely still quite wintry out west. And also by this Sunday, May 5th date, we can see that there is plenty of thunderstorm activity from Texas and Oklahoma through the Gulf states, Ohio Valley states, and Great Lakes, and up the East Coast there. Definitely very active by that time frame, which I can't say for almost all of April. So we're seeing a pretty big pattern change. Also by Monday, May 6th, we see a 988 over South Dakota. This is causing a lot of Rocky Mountain snowfall here. and also a lot of showers and thunderstorms here along that low, and to the east of it especially looks to be a heavier corridor. And then we see kind of some warm humid thunderstorms happening here across the south central and southeastern states once again. Let's take this towards Tuesday, May 7th. And what we see is this monster low now is down to a 978, which is extremely substantial, especially for this year. We see snowfall from the Cascades down through the Rockies here happening as a result of this. Heavier rainfall back on the western end of this low. And there is a corridor here on the eastern end. This looks to be the severe weather corridor here across a lot of southern Canada up through the upper Midwest and even into some of the plains, where we do have a 996 on the back end of things as well. So pretty interesting relationship between the two of these lows with this kind of connected area of thunderstorms. Going to be interesting to track there. And we do see the continued thunderstorms for the Ohio Valley, South Central, and Southeast states. Although it's quite isolated to scattered, there is just that daily chance of thunderstorms, which is, in my opinion, taking us much closer into a summer-like pattern, which is going to be interesting. Wednesday the 8th here, same story. We have this 997 now over North Dakota, 993 over the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, 999 over Oklahoma and Kansas, and then 1004 over Virginia. So we're seeing a lot of low pressure here in the east collectively, and that's creating all these different pockets of thunderstorms and activity. So again, much more summer-like to see the overall lower pressure, overall, scattered about thunderstorms throughout a lot of the nation. So rapidly we're moving into a summer-like pattern. Thursday on the 9th here, again, a lot of the east and Gulf states are seeing this. 1005 here, 1001 over Pennsylvania, even some continued snowfall over the Rockies as we have 1004 over New Mexico. And overall, it's hard to tell where the trough and ridge is by this point, but by the 10th, it's becoming a little bit more evident that we have some cooler air over the west. We have some snowfall here over the Rockies, still some thunderstorms for a lot of the southeast states here, and some scattered about stuff for the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, as well as the northeast here. It's as we reach the 11th here on Saturday, we continue to see this activity across this pocket. There is this little bit of cold push here over the west, which is going to be interesting to track on this European model. But the model that we're going to take a look at the end of this model run, or at the end of this video, better yet, has a little bit of a differing opinion. So let's go ahead and move towards that, not quite to it yet, but the total precipitation here shows us that we're expecting a lot of activity. The Northwest we see above average, kind of the Northern Plains and Northern Rockies above average, and then you take this kind of plains region eastward, and basically almost everywhere is seeing above average activity. So we're looking at 90, well, maybe not 90% of the nation, but at least I'd say 75 or 80% of the nation seeing above average precipitation here over the next 10 days. So a big time surge in activity according to this European model. Total snowfall shows that out west, again, it's still quite wintry. I mean, we're seeing 1 to 2 feet of snowfall across the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, and the Rockies. And we're in the second week of May by the end of this model run. So definitely a very, very interesting trend in a snowy direction here, as we've actually seen it more died down than that as of more recently. Let's take a look at the temperature pattern, and as we can see, we prevail with the warmer temperatures in the east until about that 10th time frame, and this is the date that I'm watching for. And what's really the catalyst here is this warmer air over the west, that positive PNA that we referred to earlier, and we begin to see this cold make its eastward trip here basically after that happens. And we see it stick over the east. The warmth is really, really sustained over the west. And we continue to see this pretty substantial cool down all the way to the 15th of May here, which will be a Wednesday, by the way. These green areas in here especially is where we're going to be at about 10 to 15 degrees below normal, which is very substantial, obviously. If your average temperature is 75, then you're going to be at 65 or even 60 degrees. So that's a pretty big jump, obviously. And as we keep going, there is really no signs of a warm-up yet by the 16th, which is the end of this model run, so I can't really give you guys any hope of a warm-up in the east yet. But we do see this continued positive PNA out west, which should continue to allow the cold to move into the east, at least for the time being. This is that European AI model that I've been using for a couple of weeks now. It's been interesting and it's been consistent. That's the thing I've noticed here, is it's been showing this cooldown around the 10th for multiple model runs in a row, and it has not backed off whatsoever. So I'm interested to see if this is a much more consistent model than our typical models that we used to use, and if so, that would be very, very exciting and a welcomed change, obviously. Now, the Storm Prediction Center, the day one outlook here, we have plenty of general thunderstorm risk areas, including Georgia and Florida, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, across a lot of the northern Rockies and northern plains. And then for some of these areas in the Midwest and southern plains, we have that general thunderstorm risk area in the lighter green. And that is where we expect general thunderstorms, so no severe weather is expected, but anything is possible, so be sure to definitely pay attention to the radar and the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service for any alerts that you might get. Things do happen outside of the expected areas, of course. This is your dark green area where we do expect isolated severe weather to occur. And then your yellow area there is called the slight risk area. And that is where we expect scattered about severe weather to occur today. Now for Friday, May 3rd, here we have, again, that lighter green general thunderstorm risk area for 2 separate areas there. And then we have, again, that marginal risk where we expect isolated severe weather. For day 3, which will be Saturday, May 4th, another quieter day. Here we see 2 general thunderstorm risk areas again and a marginal risk area again, where once again we expect isolated severe weather in there. And the only time that we can tell things are going to pick up is going to be this day 5 outlook, which is going to be for Monday, May 6th. And that is when we expect at least a slight risk of severe weather throughout Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, down through Texas. And it could even be upgraded from there. This is just kind of the minimum of what they expect, which is a slight risk in this yellow area. So of course you can kind of imagine a marginal risk outside of there and then a general thunderstorm risk somewhere. So there will be areas outside of this yellow area as well where there will be impacts. But within there is where we expect at least a slight risk. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.